My baby sister. I'm also a lawyer. Corporate, not criminal. I remember the day I passed the bar. It was joyous. I remember telling her what it meant to me to be in the justice business. But what you've done with this verdict, look, I will live out the rest of my days in prison, no doubt. But at least you come back to me. Come back to me with your verdict based on the facts as you now know them. I'm not asking you to tell me what I want to hear. If you decide to acquit again, I will make my peace. Just give me the truth. My sister, she deserves justice.
Mr. Trissino is wrong on two fronts. First, a criminal trial is not about justice for the victim. It's about justice for the defendant, making sure he gets a fair trial. Second, criminal proceedings are not and have never been about truth. The question before this jury, as it is before every jury, is did the prosecution satisfy its burden of proof? Did they prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt? And here, you quite rightly found that they did not. All the evidence showed was that my client was at the victim's house the day she died. None of his DNA was found on her body. There is nothing to connect Colin Danes to Sarah Trissino's body. Nor was there anything on Colin's body, or in his car, or in his house to connect him to the victim. Now, as for the newly introduced evidence by Mr. Trissino. First, the former girlfriend's allegation of sexual assault. The prosecutor on that case declined to push on that because A, he questioned the woman's credibility, and B, she had some psychological deficits. Then, there's the so-called confession. The very reason that these coerced confessions are deemed inadmissible is because they're not reliable. Studies show that the longer you put somebody in isolation and deprive them of food and sleep, you can get them to say almost anything. And at the point that Colin Dane signed that piece of paper, he was delirious. There is simply no evidence that is considered more manufactured or more bogus than the coerced confession. That's why that was kept from you. Now, suppose you heard, oh, hey, Colin confessed. Or guess what? He'd been charged with rape before. What would you have done then? It would have been ballgame over. You wouldn't have even bothered to listen to the testimony or weigh the DNA evidence. Your minds would have been made up in a knee-jerk. And that's exactly why we do not let that kind of prejudicial, unreliable, inflammatory evidence in, ever. It taints the process. It brainwashes the jury. And it deprives the defendant of a fair trial. Lucas Trissino held up a picture of his sister. I certainly cannot trump that. But I'm asking you just for 1 second to imagine that this is your son, your best friend, your grandson. He gets falsely accused of rape, and then someone uses that false accusation to incriminate him in a murder. Throw in a coerced confession, and here we are. Would you want a jury that says, that's good enough for me, or one that demands real and reliable evidence? It's a painful situation. Our hearts go out to the Trissino family. But you simply cannot convict Colin Danes of murder beyond all reasonable doubt with the evidence before you. They didn't even investigate this, for God's sake. Not really. You acquitted before with the recognition that it's possible that somebody came into Sarah's house after Colin Danes left. The same is true now. Nothing's changed. I heard Lucas Trissino ask you for a true and fair verdict, and I believe he was sincere. Give it to him.